Hellmaster EX. This award-winning system features the first single-engine joystick with digital electric steering and new autopilot capability. See Hellmaster EX in action at a Yamaha Outboard dealer or visit YamahaOutboards.com.
Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine. It's September 19th. These are your headlines. We've got false albacore sneaking into Long Island Sound right now. Also hearing about exceptional bottom fishing in Rhode Island. We got codfish, we got blackfish, and we got black sea bass biting there. And striped bass are really clicking into fall run mode right now. Stay tuned for all that and more on this week's New England Fishing Forecast.
The fishing news is sponsored by these fine partners.
Before we begin, we've got a couple news items for you guys. The first one is a reminder about the Fisherman's Big Fall Fishing Show over at the Huntington Hilton in Huntington, New York. This is a phenomenal show. You're going to see manufacturers, you're going to see new product, you're going to see some great deals, you're going to see local shops selling their wares, you're going to see custom tackle, you're going to see all kinds of stuff there. It's $20 to enter. Unless you're under 16, then it's $15 to enter. And the first 600 people through the door get a goodie bag filled with all kinds of awesome tackle prizes. Beyond that, the show covers all different angling disciplines, whether you're an offshore guy, inshore guy, kayak, fly fishing, or surf. It's all covered. And perhaps the most exciting part of the whole thing is the seminars. We have nonstop seminars going on for this whole thing. We've got Bill Wetzel, we've got Jenni Ackerman, we've got John Skinner, we've got John Paduano. We have John Raguso. We also have a roundtable discussion with Matt Broderick, Crazy Alberto Nee, and myself. And we're going to be talking about striped bass fishing, and we're going to sort of combine our collective knowledges and our collective knowledge, I should say, and our experiences to hopefully help you guys become a little bit better at fishing for striped bass. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. And I hope to see you guys all there. That, again, is at the Huntington Hilton in Huntington, New York. And it runs from 5 o'clock till, I think, 10:30. So definitely head over there and check it out. Next thing is a reminder out of Massachusetts. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that fluke fishing will end as of Monday, the 23rd. So you got one more weekend to try to put a big fluke in the cooler or fill the freezer with some fillets. I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that. Next thing is the latest installment of Jenni Ackerman's Open Boat. Here she is.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Open Boat. And as promised last week, I went into the mullet bite, but specifically using them for fluke. This week, we're gonna go into the history of the infamous mullet run we get here off our coast. Now this is a excellent time. It's like the turn switch to get people ready for the fall run here in New Jersey. And if it happens, it's always a teetering point on, are we gonna get mullet? Are we gonna see this bite kick off? So in the past, from what I've experienced with the infamous mullet run is we have a whole operation. You go on the beach, you can see the mullet in the schools and they do a specific little ripple pattern in the water and you'll cast net them and we'll take them back to the local tackle shops, bag them up and sell them to you anglers. A lot of the times the mullet are sold with the orange float mullet rigs, the ones that come with the long spear and the hook that comes off, and people throw them out whole for either bluefish or striped bass. In the past, I've seen a usual major uptick in bluefish during the mullet run bite, which for the mullet lords here, we use that as a tactic for netting mullet. I will cast out, hook into a bluefish, and as it comes past the second bar, it will spook the mullet in closer to get all the netters to, see them and net up some mullet. So it's a whole operation and it is just so much fun because, like I said, it kicks off the fall season. We got the cooler temperatures, we got the water cooling down, we got the fish on the move, they're ready to eat, and us surf casters are ready to catch. After the long 3 months of the summertime, we all have that itch. So that's just a little bit about the mullet, specifically the striped mullet, striped mullet for striped bass and bluefish, of course, that's what I get excited for. I love a good bluefish bite. And the one thing with the mullet run is it's you can get them on topwater. Like, you can't get me more excited than a topwater bite, especially with bluefish, because they go absolutely bonkers. But don't get me wrong, there are stripers in the mix, specifically based off of where you go in the area. You will get lucky and you'll get, hopefully you can brag about it as your first fall run fish of the season, like that first alarm striper. But it's just a ton of fun. Like I said, it's a whole operation. And on next week's open boat, I'm gonna take you guys with me to show you the whole mullet lured operation that I've been a part of for many years. It's a great tradition for me. It's a ton of fun going down there and just watching the whole operation. And it's not even just one person netting mullet, it's a whole group of people, because, you know, we gotta have a little competition in the mix here, who gets the most mullet. And hopefully next week, we're gonna aim for, I don't know, I'm gonna lowball it here, maybe 50 dozen mullet, but I think we can easily hit triple digit mullet, because there has been not even whispers anymore. It is full on, let's go, we're netting mullet now talk. So stay tuned for next week's open boat. I'm already like so excited to go down there and just show you guys the whole mullet lured operation, but definitely stay tuned and get your stuff ready. That's all I gotta say. Get your surf gear ready. Like, let's go. I'm so ready for the fall run season, and I hope you guys are too. Dust off the waders, check your line, your braid, make sure everything's fresh. Check your hooks, replace your hooks, get your stuff rolling. Get out there, let's go. I'll see you guys next week.
Save the date. Thursday, September 26th is the Fisherman Magazine's fishing show at the Hilton in Melville, Long Island. Doors open at 5 p.m. and the first 500 through the door get a bag full of fishing gear worth more than the $20 admission. Inshore, offshore, surf, we cover it all. Fishing seminars from the Sharpies. Great deals on tackle. A giant raffle. You don't want to miss out. Want to be an exhibitor? We still have a few tables available, but they're going fast. Contact the Fisherman at 631-345-5200 for more info. See you there.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing: that nothing says no to fish bites.
Last thing, of course, is the giveaway, which is ongoing. This one's going to wrap up on Halloween, so you have until October 30th to get those photos in. If you guys don't know the drill, which most of you I'm sure do, it's just got to be a picture of you holding your fish, and it's got to be sent to me at danderson@thefisherman.com or texted to the number on the screen, and it just need the pertinent details: the name of the angler, where the fish was caught, how big the fish was, maybe what it was caught on, if there's a story behind it. And the thing I look for is a well-composed photo. So compose a nice photo, send it in. We'll get you in the magazine, probably get you in the report, and who knows, you might win something cool. This time around, we're giving away a glide bait made by me. It's in sort of a bunker color, and seeing a lot of photos this time around, so keep them coming, and we'll see who wins. Moving over into the fishing reports now, we're getting a lot of good news coming out of Maine. It just keeps on coming down. And I think I said a couple weeks ago that we were probably nearing the peak of the fall run in Maine. Well, it seems like right now might be the peak. There's been some exceptional catches off the beaches in particular. Fish up into the mid to high 40-inch class, up to like 46, 47 inches. And just lots and lots of activity day and night. The river mouths have been good, the beaches have been good, there's tons of bait moving in, and I think this might just be the pinnacle of the fall run up there in Maine. So if you live up there, or if you're heading up there for work or for any other reason, make sure you bring the rod and head to the beach, because good chance you're going to find something exciting out there in the water in front of you. Now we'll jump over the border a little bit. We'll check in with James Jewkes. Here he is.
Hi, Dave. Just down in the basement, doing a little prep work for tonight. And tomorrow night for sure, definitely. But I got to tell you, we have had the bluefish invasion. Plum Island has had bluefish up and down the whole beachfront. Not a lot of stripers. There's some mixed in. The boat guys have been getting those out about a half mile out or so, but the bluefish are running the shore and eating everything. 10, 14, 16-pound bluefish, really good stuff. And they are hammering everything in sight. And just today we had a GW site down in Ipswich, right at the end of the island. So be careful of that stuff out there. And over in Gloucester, down to Salem, fishing has been really good. Up in New Hampshire, things are going okay. The bait guys, plug guys, eel guys, we've all been doing pretty good. I did a little daylight fishing with my conventional, doing some bait fishing, and we chunked up some. And then one of our club member, Brad's, had a really nice bluefish, and a whole bunch of others too. So everybody needs to be out there fishing hard. Tonight we should see some more fish. Pretty soon we're going to be getting into the next new moon, which you'll want to be at too. All right, Dave, that's it from here.
Now we're going to drop down into Boston Harbor, check in with Danny Parma from Fish Bucket Sport Fishing.
Thanks, Dave. Dan checking in with the bite from Boston. This week we had a steady increase. The bass are, smashing top water. The bluefish are ripping, the pogies up. There's a lot of action going on. The fish are still in those same spots everywhere, in front of the fish pier all the way out to Dare Island. The pogies are there. Find the pogies, you'll find the fish. The crew at Fish Bucket Sport Fishing took the weekend off and headed down to Westport, Mass. We met up with Captain Bill Chadwick aboard the Fresca 4, 37-foot Duffy. We took it out and did some canyon fishing. If you've never been canyon fishing, I highly, highly recommend it. 110 plus miles out there. We hooked into a bunch of yellowfin. We hooked into, good sized mahi. We had a blue marlin jump into our spread, smashed 4 of our bars, and then jumped out of the water, gave us the finger, and it's a magical place. This is the fall run, guys. Get out there. You can't catch them on the couch. Stay safe. I'll catch you on the next one.
The heightened fall run activity continues on the South Shore, from like Scituate down to Plymouth. One thing that's changed, not as many bluefish, and maybe the bite's gotten a little less consistent, but still lots of nice sized striped bass along that range. A lot of bait in the water. You got everything from silver sides to herring fry to adult bunker. And, guys are cashing in day and night. The boat guys are getting in on it more during the day. Surf guys are getting it done at night. Plugging has been the way the surf guys have been doing most of their damage, throwing either darters, needlefish, plastic swimmers, or any kind of big soft plastic bait is getting it done. Crossing over the canal, things are still kind of slow on the beaches of the bay side of the Cape. It seems like a lot of those fish may have sort of backslid and gone through the canal, so we were not getting a lot of striped bass or bluefish reports along that stretch from boaters or surf fishermen. It just seems to be a little bit of a slow zone out there. If that's your target area, I would concentrate on the inlets. At least that's going to give those fish that are in the area a reason to sort of line up in one spot. So take that advice and do with it what you will. Rounding the end of the Cape, we're hearing a lot of good tuna reports this week. Seems like live bait, live mackerel in particular, has been getting it done, and there's been good numbers of rec-sized fish, like 40 to 60-inch fish. Definitely some giants out there as well, but that tuna bite has really picked up, and we've seen a little bit of action on the jig out there as well, but definitely leaning heavily on live baits at the moment. Moving into the beach now, there's been some schools of pogies along the outer beaches, which has brought in some striped bass now. Reportedly, most of these fish have been on the small to medium side, so figure like 22 to 35 inches, something like that. But if big pods of adult bunker stick around long enough, we're going to see some big bass pulling up on the beaches there, so you definitely want to keep an eye on that. Moving down toward Monomoy, we're seeing another little bit of an increase in striped bass activity. There's still some albies in that area, and there are still plenty of bonito in that area, and that extends out to Nantucket, where we've been seeing some Better bass fishing along Great Point, and plenty of bonito all the way around the island as well. If you want to target false albacore, you're going to want to move into Nantucket Sound. You're going to want to fish in the Wacoit, Craigville type of a stretch, but I will warn you, you're probably going to find albies, but there's a very high chance that you might not hook one. These fish have been on tiny, tiny, tiny bait, like thumbnail size butterfish, and they have been impossible to hook. A friend of mine was out there just the other day, put in 4 hours, had one hit with albies breaking all around him. And he threw everything from the tiniest little epoxy jigs that you can get to flies, and those fish just weren't having it. So be prepared. And actually another friend of mine too was down there doing the same thing, and was not able to hook an albie, only was able to hook bonito. So very, very fussy bite going on for albies right now. And you know, the good news is that you do have the bonito that can save the day, and there's been a decent amount of Spanish mackerel around as well. Going out toward the Vineyard, we have seen sort of the same thing. Finicky albies, plenty of bonito, decent striped bass fishing, especially on the inside, up inside the bays and harbors and estuaries has been pretty good out there. And then we had sort of a landmark catch. The Vineyard Derby kicked off with a surf-caught 6-foot tarpon. That's the first tarpon I've heard of coming from the Vineyard, and it's just another one to add to the growing list of Northeast tarpon over the last few years, but definitely wanted to make sure I highlighted that. Interesting catch. Another place where there has been some albie activity has been the Elizabeth Islands. They seem to be on some different bait over there, some bigger bait, some snapper bluefish, maybe some finger mullet, definitely some peanut bunker. Those fish have been a little bit easier to hook, but haven't been as reliably found. We have also heard of some togging along the Elizabeth, which is picking up right now, and fish up into the low 20-inch class have been reported. Push through to the canal. The canal has seen a decent amount of fish pushing through in waves. We are right in the middle of the breaking tides right now, and I think I got a feeling this is going to be a decent set of tides. For a little bit more on that, let's toss it over now to East End Eddie.
Good morning, Dave. Another beautiful day here on the world-famous Cape Cod Canal. Got an east flood tide coming in here behind me. Still a lot of bait here. We've got bunker, peanut bunker, mackerel, squid, a lot of small bait, a lot of rain bait everywhere, and silver sides. So Bruno De Souza caught a bluefish the other day, and 4 stripers up to 35 inches. He was throwing an Algags Wacky Mac soft plastic jig. And Wacky Mac have been great colors this week. And Kuhn Tang and his lovely wife, Kathy, from upstate New York, caught 9 fish between them up to 35 inches. They were throwing shads. And Paul Sparky Euskatis caught a 37-inch off the bottom. He was throwing chunking bait, chunking cut bunker. And Breaking Bob Ware caught a 22-pound striper with a fish lab, a Wacky Mac fish lab. And right next to Breaking Bob was Johnny the Fish Kelly, who was throwing the same lure at the same time in the same tide in the same spot. And Johnny the Fish reeled in a 32-pounder that measured out to 44 inches. So congratulations to those anglers. And this weekend, this Saturday, September 21st, is Canal Day. And that's always a great event from 11 to 6 in Buzzards Bay Park. And so Marie Oliva and the Cape Cod Canal Region Chamber of Commerce put that on every year. There's food trucks, games, crafts, and a lot of different vendors that will be having all kinds of different products available, including canal legend John Doble, who'll be there with his lovely wife Karen in one of the booths. And so come by Saturday. It's always a great time. So last week, our nation remembered a terrible day in American history, September 11th, and the names of victims were read so that we'll never forget. And some of the relatives had comments and brief statements that they made, and one young person said that I wish that you got to take me fishing. So until next time, catch a big one.
Heading out west to western Buzzards Bay, good striper fishing out there, still plenty of bonito around. Togging has been very good, and then the guys that have been heading out toward Cox's have been doing really well with codfish. We've seen codfish up to 30 pounds out there, and they're finding a mix of other species. You got some sea bass coming out of there, which in Massachusetts have to be released. Also got some good tog coming out of there. So bottom fish has been very good out there. And then the stripers have been heading up into the Westport River. They've been heading up into some of the other estuaries. The fishing's been pretty solid. I would say that that's the best species to chase in Western Buzzards Bay right now, and that's what I have for you guys in Massachusetts this week. Crossing over into Rhode Island now, let's start things off with an East Bay report from TJ Kopecky.
Thanks, Dave. Hey guys, got a quick report for the East Bay area, a little bit of Mount Hope Bay. I gotta say the striper bite has really picked up inside the Warren and Barrington rivers. Had a couple outings up in the river and did well with some nice schoolie bass. I got fish up to 26 inches. I know there are some keeper size in there. My buddy John did well a couple of days before I was in there, and he got a fish up to 33 inches. Which just goes to show you, but there are some fish up in there feeding on a very abundant amount of bait that is coming out of the estuaries. So getting into the bay, out in front of Colt State Park, I got word of some good tog off the piers at Colt State Park, and that was on crabs, and there's a bunch of scup in the mix there also. And along with that comes, your trash fish, some oyster toadfish. There's some sea robins around. I haven't heard any good reports of some fluke in the bay still. I know there's people out there trying. I did have a chance myself to get out into Newport, and we did some tog fishing, and we did okay. We caught more sea bass than to tog. Ended up with 2 17-inch to tog on that trip. Mount Hope Bay has been pretty good with some solid striper action up on the Common Fence Point, going towards Spar Island into the Coles River. So look for a lot of bait. There's a lot of bait that is really starting to congregate. It had gotten slow midweek, and I got reports that, hey, there's no birds around. I gotten a lot of chatter from a couple of my friends that have been out there saying, there's tons of birds, but they're just laying in the water waiting for something to happen. We know there's a ton of bait in there, and it's going to happen. So get out there. You might have to just get deep with those fish right now, because that water is still 70 degrees on the surface. The coolest amount of water we could find was like 69 degrees. And the further we got up into the bay, the warmer it is. So that water still is warm, and still waiting for Albie's and Bonita to get up inside of the bay. And haven't seen that yet. So going forward, just wanted to talk about, just a heads up, the Rhode Island Tog Classic is coming October 13th. That's on Columbus Day weekend. And be sure to get your crabs ordered if you're going to order. There's several bait stores in the East Bay that you can connect with. And I just happen to be associated with Lucky Bait, and I went in and ordered my bushel for them. You can order a bushel ahead of time, and if you just let Manny or Jeff know, they will get that on order for you, and that way you don't get hung out to dry and no crabs for the tournament. So other than that, guys, from the East Bay, tight lines.
Tuna fishing has really started to kick up, and actually I forgot to mention that there's been a pretty good flare-up of tuna south of the Vineyard as well. So it does seem like that, southern-facing bluefin activity has started to spread out a little bit, and it's still, I would say the place that's seen the most activity is still south of Block Island. Just be prepared, you're going to see a lot of boats out there. We've heard reports of up to 100 boats on one school of fish. And that makes for some stiff competition, but the bite has been good. A lot of guys are doing it with the jig. We're seeing more guys moving over to the chunk now as well. And all reports seem to indicate that the bite's still solid, so it's still worth a run. And we've had stable weather, so make it last, make it count when you can. Moving back in towards shore, Togging has been very good along the Jamestown, Narragansett shorelines. We've seen some really nice fish coming out of there. Some of those offshore reefs are putting out some fish as well. Plenty of sea bass mixed all throughout and heading all the way out toward Block Island. And for a little bit more on that, let's toss it over now to Captain John Lee from JL Charters.
Hey, John Lee, JL Charters, Point Youth, Rhode Island. It's September 18th. We got out a handful of times this week, mostly bottom fishing. I got out tuna fishing once. We did pretty well on the tunas. Bottom fishing has been pretty good with mixed bag, codfish, sea bass, and blackfish, anchored up using green crabs, fishing in maybe 70 feet, 60 feet, bouncing around. The ebb seems to be the better tide with that. I am hearing reports from friends of mine who are fishing the western edge of Rhode Island Sound up along the shoreline that there's a lot going on. There's giant tunas, there's minke whales, there's striped bass, there's bluefish, there's green bonita, and I think we got a building northeast wind right now. It's Wednesday. Today was supposedly really good fishing up inshore, and I think if I were a surf fisherman, I used to be, still am, but haven't gone in quite a few years, tonight would be a very good surf fishing night in Narragansett and the South Shore of Rhode Island. We will see when those reports come in. Take care.
Other boats heading out of Rhode Island have reported really good cod fishing, especially out more toward the windmills and then heading over toward Cox's. For a little bit more on that, let's check in now with Jeff Sullivan from Lucky Bait and Tackle.
What's up, Dave? What's going on, everybody? So this week I have a cod report for you guys, an offshore cod report. We went out 3 days ago, I think now. Every day is a blur now, but yeah, it was 3 days ago. We went out with the boys. We wanted to target big codfish and, deep water, and we found them. We got some nice codfish up to 20 pounds. A lot of nice sea bass in the mix too. We had a phenomenal day. You really can't beat that. Snapping diamond jigs off the bottom with clam, some gulp, some sand eel teasers, you name it. Your tried and true traditional codfish rigs, stuff like that, we're working. When I run a cod setup, I run a basic setup. I just do a straight diamond jig. I don't do a teaser on top. If I'm going for head hunting for big cod, I want a diamond jig, and that's it. I don't do the teasers because what happens is it's down there and the sea bass get to it, and you're already reeling up because the sea bass is on it, and you're taking it away from the chance you could have with the big cod going to eat it. So I eliminate that. So if they're going to eat the jig, they're going to eat the jig. So I eliminate that process. But some of the jigs I like to use are the traditional diamond jigs, the old iron clam, with the J hook on the bottom. I like the J hooks the best because it just fits the gulp on there nicely, or a Ron Z replacement tail. You can do that as well. And there's no twisting and bending when it's down there 100 feet. Opposed to the treble hooks, when you have twisting going on and it just mangles everything and it gets twisted in lines and stuff like that. It gets to be a pain in the butt. But yeah, so sometimes I'll run some trebles, but most of the time I'll run J hooks or assist cords. And speaking of assist cords, I'll go right to a chatter streaker jig. The ones you use for tuna, I like to use for codfish as well, because codfish love sand eels, and let's be honest, all fish love sand eels in our ocean. So yeah, that's a very good presentation as well for codfish. Like I said, just snapping them right off the bottom. Reel, snap, let it fall back down. Reel, snap, let it fall back down. You just want that cadence. So you hit the bottom. Once you hit the bottom, reel up, and then let it fall back down. Almost like a flutter spoon. Almost. Same thing with this. Like, I'll put the assist cord on top and do the same thing, especially when you're fishing around wrecks and stuff and lobster pots and all that stuff. It's less likely to get snagged, and if you do get snagged, you can get it out at a higher percentage than you would with the hook on the bottom with the treble hook. But with that being said, We got some mahi as well on the Game On 3/4 XO jig, electric chicken. This thing catches everything, I swear. But yeah, that's it for the cod side of things. I do think the cod fishery is actually in an upward trend. I do think it's good to see. It's great to see big codfish around, and to go out and target them and get them is it's another feat in itself. So with that being said, guys, get out there, go get a cod of a lifetime. Sorry, I have tog brain. A cod of a lifetime, and see you out there. Tight lines.
On the striped bass end of things, the bite's been a little bit more scattered. There are some really nice fish around. It's just not any one area that seems to be producing them. And it's definitely more boat and kayak than it is surf. The guys that are getting it done from the boat and the kayak are definitely getting it done with live eels and the tube and worm. Those are the two methods that are really crushing it right now. And it's probably your best bet to get a really big striped bass. We've seen fish up into the low 40-pound class from that area. Moving over to the Point Judith area and looking out toward Block Island, similar deal. Seen good numbers of striped bass off of Point Jude, and then out toward Block Island, we've seen some bigger fish. I got a picture of a 51-pounder this week, which was caught off of Southeast Light on a live eel, and we've heard of a lot of guys doing well with the big plastic eels this week again as well. So it seems like, you know, another glut of big striped bass has moved into the Block Island area, so you definitely want to keep an eye on that. And then moving up along the South County beaches, fluking is going to pick up a little bit, I think. We're starting to see more snapper bluefish exiting the breachways. We're starting to see more mullet heading out, and it seems like every year when we see this, we see a little uptick in fluke activity. We still got about a month of the fluke season left in Rhode Island, so plenty of time to make that happen. And just don't neglect those, you know, close to shore areas outside the breachways, because a lot of times some of those, especially some of that stickier bottom, can produce some really nice fish. Decent sea bass fishing all throughout the area, and striped bass has been holding its own. It hasn't been killer, but it's been just fine. Guys fishing the breachways are reporting solid catches, and the boat guys, same thing, especially out toward the Watch Hill Reefs, where you have a good chance of finding a really big fish. No albies out there really to speak of. You know, we keep hearing rumors, or one guy that's heard his friend caught one or whatever, but really no solid intel on false albacore in the area, but still plenty of bonito around. And that's what I have for you guys in Rhode Island this week. And then moving over into Connecticut, I think the biggest news in Connecticut this week is probably the false albacore that have kind of snuck in along Montauk, gone along Orient Point, and then gone along the north shore of Long Island. These fish have been reported anywhere from Orient out to like Port Jeff, and seems like the middle of that range has really been the bullseye. Good numbers of fish out there, maybe not quite the size that we were seeing in Nantucket Sound a couple weeks ago, but it's good to see somebody seeing some consistent catches of albies. So if you really got to scratch that albie itch, that's where I would head. Moving back east, the race kind of took a step back again this week. The bluefish seemed to back out. Far fewer bass in there. It seems like they liked those slower tides. Now we're back up to the moon again, and the bites really tapered off. During the slow periods of tide, guys are doing well in bottom species like sea bass and scup, but overall, the main species that we usually think of for the race have been sort of conspicuously absent this week. If you do want striped bass and you want to look for a big one, I would fish the backside of Fishers. Moving up toward the shoreline along from the Thames River out to Niantic Bay, there's been some big bluefish in the area. Not like marauding schools, but if you put some time in, you may find yourself, you know, a real bruiser around the reefs out there. A lot of bait around, a lot of mid-sized stripers, you know, 20 to 40 inches, something like that. And there's been a lot of topwater activity at first and last light. Moving up closer to the Connecticut River, it's been decent striped bass activity around there, but the main thing is it's just a ton of bait. There's bay anchovies, there's peanut bunker, there's adult bunker, and this, I think, bodes well. With the albies moving in from that side, from the Long Island side, I think middle ground is a good chance of going off this week, and then with all that bait outside the Connecticut River, I would definitely be keeping my eye on that, because very good chance that those fish could move in on that side. There have been a few bonito around, which is sort of I guess maybe the harbinger of things to come. Now let's check in with Captain Mike Roy from Reelcast Charters.
Hey, what's up, everybody? We are now in the fall run. Striper fishing is very good. We have some openings over the next couple weeks, so if you're thinking about doing a fall trip, highly recommend doing that. Striper fishing with topwater is getting better and better every day. There's peanut bunker dropping out of the harbors, and peanut bunker really get the fish fired up. There's also some big bluefish around. Now, this week we're going to see temperatures start to drop. We have our first real northeast winds of the year. That could hopefully trigger the false albacore bite. They're a little bit unpredictable, but this is the time of year when that's going to get really good. Topwater in general is very good right now for striped bass. Black sea bass fishing is also good. So over the next couple weeks, we're going to have some fantastic fishing. So I recommend getting out.
And now let's head up the river and check in with Rowan Lytle.
Hey everybody. Tropical rainstorm bringing some much needed rain to the Connecticut River watershed, it looks like. So still late in the season, but those little bouts of rain always bring up some channel catfish bites wherever a nice, dirty rivulet of water dumps into the Connecticut River. So be on the lookout for that this weekend. Expect those cooler temperatures behind this weather to also bump up the pike activity. That's what I'll be targeting this weekend, and I'm hoping for a decent bite in that regard. Otherwise, just fantastic fishing in the lower, cooler water in the tributaries with the smallmouth and panfish really looking up. So if you're looking to just catch a whole bunch of fish, the action's just been good, even though the size isn't really there. Of course, in the main stem of the river, you still have a good shot at some large fish in the sort of lowest water we've had all year. See if this rain changes that. Should bring it up a little bit at least. But otherwise, definitely getting some good typical early fall fishing in, and hopefully it stays that way.
Now we'll head west and check in with Matt Stone from Black Hall Outfitters.
What's up, everyone? Matt here from Black Hall Outfitters with this week's fishing report. We're getting into definitely leaning more towards a fall than a summer bite right now, but I would still continue to fish for stripers as if you are fishing summer style with live eels, big soft plastics, topwaters, tubes, diving plugs, things like that. Certainly going to start to see more bird activity as those peanut bunker bay anchovies, silver sides, etc. Dump out into our waters and fuel that fall blitz. That's sort of the transition we're in right now, between where you can kind of head out and look for birds, or where you head out and there's not much, so you got to fish like you would summertime and know that there's fish in those current driven kind of rocky points, things like that. So that's kind of what I'm doing for stripers right now. For hardtails locally, we have started to get some rumors of albies here and there, sort of like the forward scouts, I would say, not like big, hectic basketball court size feeds. But I do have a couple of customers who have caught them locally, but we haven't had sort of any additional reports of them, which is not uncommon. Normally it'll be very slowly and then all at once. We'll get a day where all of a sudden they're everywhere. So I do think that they're on the doorstep for us. There is a blow kind of happening here in the next few days that I think could really throw some fuel on the fire for hardtails, so that could be awesome. Sea bass and fluke have both been very good. Fluke love all this bait around, so tip your stuff with spearing. Get out there. You can try shallow this time of year for fluke. Don't discount that. Sea bass has been deep still, 70 to 100. Dial SK jigs, rigs with squid or clams. Those kind of things are still working really well. Great time of year. Choose your weather. Get out there. Enjoy these kind of hoodies in the morning, t-shirts in the afternoon days. They're my favorite. Good luck, everyone.
Now, heading out of the Connecticut River region, that swath of bait continues west from there. Just tons and tons of bait around in that area. We're seeing some topwater blitzes. We're seeing some fall type action along the beaches. And overall, the fishing's been pretty solid throughout that area, whether if you want to fish for striped bass or bluefish, you want to fish for sea bass on some of the deeper water. And again, we're seeing another little uptick in fluke activity in that region as well. So overall, things are looking really good in the Central Sound. As we head west, I've been hearing about a lot of fall run type activity out there too. Some bass and some bluefish on the beaches. Really good scup fishing still along the shorelines. And things are really holding on quite well. For a little bit more on all that, let's check in now with Max Finch from Fisherman's World.
This past week, the hardtail reports have getting better and better. We've heard of some bonita across and some south of the islands. Locally around the islands, I would check places like Kopecky Shoals, south of Sheffield. There's been a lot of rain bait over there. and I've seen some bonita caught that area and the beaches of Sherwood. And then guys are also shooting across, fishing Can 13, Eaton's Neck, Smithtown Bay, and then, you know, Port Jeff, Crane's Neck, and those areas. Those areas too are going to hold albies really well. We've heard of a couple albies caught locally, but it seems like most of the albies being caught are east and middle ground. So mid-sound, I think, you know, on the backside of this new full moon coming up, that with these tides, it should bring some albies into our local waters. The bass fishing is definitely picking up leading up to this full moon also. The diamond jig and bites getting better and better. And then tomorrow is actually the full moon, so these, you know, big 8-foot tides should definitely be good diamond jigging in places like 28C, 11B, and Can 13. On this previous full moon, the fishing was actually excellent. I got out, we diamond jigged a bunch of bass up to 40 inches and a lot of big bluefish in the mix also. We've seen some weak fish caught this past week, drifting sandworms. Guys are, you know, targeting porgies and they're getting weak fish as bycatch. But if you definitely wanted to try to target them, I would definitely fish Norwalk Harbor on the mud flats near Peach on the higher tides, and then now near the Bluefish Pit, which is just north of 28C. Drifting sandworms through there or smaller diamond jigs work well. Fluke fishing remains so-so. There are some nice fish being caught, but you know, these anglers are really hitting these spots hard. Places like, you know, the hump outside the islands and 28C. This time of year gets tricky because you can find them in deep water and shallow water with all this bait around, rain bait, snappers, you know, baby bunker, mid-sized bunker, adult bunker. But I know a couple guys, you know, they're 3-weighing live snappers on our reefs and they're finding bass and they're finding some nice fluke up to 7 pounds. Black sea bass, they still remain in our deeper water wrecks, south of the islands and deeper water parts of reef, places like 28 and then the wrecks south of the islands, you know, off Kopecky, the wrecks off Sheffield, the wrecks near 28C. The Celtic wreck is really good this time of year. Remember to bring clam chum to try to bring these fish to your boat, and then once you got them underneath, you can hit them on your traditional baits, and they'll take a variety of butterfly jigs, knife jigs, you name it. Thanks and good luck.
And that's what I have for you guys in the reports this week. Hopefully it's going to inspire you to get out there. Don't forget to head to the Fisherman Show next week. You can see a seminar by me. You can pick up some great deals on tackle. It's just going to be a great time. You can also combine it with a trip to Montauk or something like that. Hop on the ferry, jump over, and you know, do a little Long Island style fishing. If you're not a subscriber to The Fisherman, I highly recommend you head to our website. That's thefisherman.com. You get a full taste of what we offer there. We cover all the fishing from Delaware up to Maine, and we cover every angling discipline you can think of. Everything from offshore tile fish and tuna to freshwater steelhead and largemouth bass to surf fishing, to kayak fishing, inshore boating, every species, we cover it all. It's $29.95 for a year. You're going to get 12 paper magazines sent to your house. You're going to get 26 digital editions sent to your email. In addition to all that, you're going to get digital access to all the back issues and the new editions digitally to both of our other editions. So if you sign up for New England, you're also going to get digital access to New York and New Jersey. I mean, how can you go wrong? That's $30, 3 magazines, all the back issues, and there's enough information there to keep you busy for 10 winters. But if you go to the website and you're still not interested, which would be hard to believe, at the very least, give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube and hit that little bell thing down there so you get a notification every time we post something new. I appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.